Your president is watching. America is watching. But more important, Godfather is watching. Make no mistake, there will be no fuck-ups. Marines around this world would give they left nuts to be where you are. Anybody not want to go? Marines, kill on 3. 1, 2, 3, kill!
With a need to bleed you when the light goes green. Best believe I'm in the zone to be. From a yin to my yang to Z. Put a grin on my chin when you come to me. Cause I'll win, I'm a one of a kind. And I'll bring death to the place you're about to be. Another river of blood running under my feet. Forged in a fire lit long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Lord, make me dead before you make me whole. I feed on the fear of the devil inside of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a warrior, this is my song.
I am a warrior and this is my song. I'm basking the glow of the rising war. Lay waste to the ground of an enemy shore. Wade through the blood spilled on the floor. And if another one stands, I'll kill some more. Bullet in the breach and a fire in me. Like a cigarette thrown to gasoline. If death don't bring you fear, I swear you'll fear these marching feet. Come to the nightmare, come to me. Deep down in the dark where the devil be. In the mall with the jaws and the razor teeth. Where the brimstone burns and the angel weeps. Crawl to the gods of a cross your path. And my silhouette hangs like a body bag. Hope is a moment now long past. The shadow of death is the one I cast. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior and this is my song.
sometimes it's a little tough to come in after something like that, but I'll do my best. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for choosing Cold War Radio, live from studio number 1, which means we are from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this evening. I'm your host, Hutch Bailey Jr., the Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. The voicemail, which doesn't get used very hard, even though the majority of our listeners listen via podcast. If you're a podcast listener, you can use the number 412-467-1460 24/7 and leave the rest of the audience a voicemail, and we will play it on the air. Please go to steelcityresistance.com, become a Cold War Radio patron. You can catch the research room there, several other things, the video page. If you want to look at the videos from the audio clips that we play on the radio show, the research room just has a ton of information. It is what it says it is, a research room. You can go in there and find your hottest subject matter that the left likes to talk about, but they never talk about it truthfully. If you'd like to write to the program, please write to Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 10433, 370 Castle Shannon Boulevard, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15234. All right, let's get into this. We have a heavy show for you this evening. It seems like they all are recently, but that's just the way it goes. It is my pleasure to turn to ATL to the South and Atlanta, Georgia, and welcome Stacy Rush to the program. Good evening, ma'am.
Hey, Hutch Bailey Jr. It's good to be here, and Sal, I'm glad to be with you guys tonight.
Outstanding. And let's go to Western Pennsylvania and the outskirts of Allegheny County and welcome Sal to the program. Hello, Sal.
Hutch, Stacy, good to be here. You guys are both all right? Nothing to report?
No,
as
nothing.
Far as I know.
I mean, we'll see as we go here. Let me just ask the audience a favor. I made it even easier. I told you the other day that I put the program on a very interactive platform that I think has potential. It may be the wave of the future. We have to keep our eye on these kind of things. It's called Podchaser. If you go to steelcityresistance.com, you ought to have that bookmarked anyway. But go to steelcityresistance.com. Right up in the upper right-hand margin where the donate buttons are, there's also a Podchaser button that you can rate and review the program. If you have some spare time when you're locked down, if you could go in there and maybe play with that a little bit, there's some features once that gets populated that I'd like to check out. As a matter of fact, there's some different interactive ways of me getting on other people's shows and maybe getting people on our show. So check that out and let's see if it works. I don't know if it will or not, but it's worth a shot. The second thing that I'd like to say before we really get started is I want everybody to remember, and I know that not everybody is affected by the different outages and restrictions on public gatherings and restaurants and bars and whatnot, on and on and on. But I would just ask you that not to forget our first responders who never get to take off. They're out there right now, and I would just ask that you use your discretion. I know there's a big difference, and I noticed this after I moved back into the city, after I lived outside of the city for 15 years. I noticed that people in the city have a different mindset, some of them do, than a lot of people that live more on their own, in the rural areas and things like that. Please don't call 911 if your sewer's backed up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just think about, don't call 911 unless there's a life-threatening emergency. Don't put these people through this. I mean, you wouldn't believe the things I hear. I listen to the scanner all the time. My son's a firefighter, so I'm paying attention to what's going on with him. And the things I hear, I mean, a headache? No, don't call 911 for a headache. Take your raggedy ass to the hospital or to a Med Express or something. But don't, because see, what a lot of people don't realize especially with cities, is that when you make a call, we don't have ambulances like we used to. All right, these firefighter unions have negotiated contracts. They get called to every single ambulance call. So if you call 911 because your sewer is backed up, that means that a big engine company is coming to your house. Think about that. That's 4 guys on the clock, and their big diesel engine pumper. Just think about that. That's all I'm saying. I just wanted to think about that. Let's go around the round table and just see what's on your guys' plates. Stacy, what's going on?
Well, so in Atlanta, our company sent us home on Friday. We'll be working from home through March and maybe longer, just depending on how things work out. And we had a situation where one of our coworkers was at a wedding, and someone there, from what I understand, tested positive for coronavirus, and she got sick. The weekend before last. And so last week she was not at work all week. And we just kept getting messages that she was out sick. It didn't even cross my mind that she had been exposed to coronavirus, but then our office shut down. And I, of course, being me, told the owner of my company how ridiculous I thought he was being. And, he was like, yeah, but we may have had, exposure to it. So I've been self-quarantined from my kids for, it's been 11 days, but I'll be able to see them back on Saturday. I've had no fever and no symptoms. And usually you get them by 5 days, and worst case scenario, it sounds like 11 days. And today was 11 days with no symptoms. So all good here. The only problem that we're having is there's no food anywhere. And I'm not a panicker, so I did go out a couple weeks ago and just got a few extra things in case we were locked in for a long period of time. But, my kids are coming back Saturday, and I'm like, I have to cook them dinner, and we have no chicken. We have no ground beef. We have no anything. So I have tried a few days in a row to go to the grocery stores, and they have no chicken, no ground beef, no roast, no nothing. And made it to Costco today, where now they are limiting people going into the store, the number of people. And they did have meat there, so I was able to get the meat I needed for 2 weeks, and won't be going out again until we get the all clear. So that's pretty much my life right now. How are you guys doing?
Sal?
Well, I am temporarily working from home. However, I am going to venture downtown tomorrow, Hutch. Likely by public transportation. Not too sure how long I'm going to be downtown. There's a couple tasks that I have to do in the office that require me to be there, and perhaps a few other people. And we're going to get our jobs done, and I'm probably going to return home. The one thing that I noticed is when was it? Monday. Yeah, it was Monday. I was just trying to find my own personal space in the street, waiting for the bus so I could get home. And gosh, I don't want to swear, but damn it, I could not. People were just kept on getting into my space. People were spitting. There was some guy walking by smoking a joint and coughing his ass off. It reminded me of the old Pittsburgh. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Indeed.
Where these, I don't know, I don't want to call them
degenerates.
Yeah. Yeah, we're walking the street, and I'm like, wow, these are going to be the people who are probably going to get this and bring it back to wherever they're at, and everyone else is going to get sick. And I was just like, oh,
I'll tell you an experiment to do. I'll give you an experiment to do. I know you don't smoke, but just light a cigarette. You don't have to smoke it. Just light it. Make sure it's lit. And walk down the street downtown with it and see what happens.
So do you think people will stay away?
No, every degenerate down there is going to come up and ask you for one.
Oh, yeah, wow. Thanks, Hutch.
I'm just telling. I'm telling. That's the old Pittsburgh. It's still out there.
That is true. So are there people downtown? Yes, there are. Do I want to be down there? No. Once I get into the office, I'm probably going to be fine because there aren't going to be a whole heck of a lot of people there. But I'm going to plan my route carefully tomorrow so I can get in and get out. Looks like we have some food here. I don't, certain things are gone, certain things you can find. That I went to Sam's Club the other day. All the meat was gone there. I think there was 1 rack of ribs and 3 expensive packs of steaks. Like they were the 3 steaks for $27. I mean, they're not totally expensive in my book, but they weren't cheap. But there's food to be found. I just think you need to get up a little bit earlier here in Western PA, and don't be a goof about it, in my opinion.
No, the food, especially the meat supply chain is almost 100%. Unless you're trying to get something that's exotic, it's almost 100% in country, and it will return. And just a note, maybe the big brands, the big box brands, places aren't the places to go. Maybe go into a neighborhood, and go to an Italian grocery or some other kind of butcher shop where the pressure is not so high.
And as you know, since we are neighbors,
sure.
You know what else is going on here in the city, and the alarmists are out. And I agree with you, Hutch. We do have to respect our first responders and only call if it truly is an emergency. Yeah. Yes, call them. 100%.
And that should be all the time, but now especially because every call they go on, they're terrified. And I'm talking about everybody, all the public first responders are like, am I going into a den where I'm going to get this, And it's not, even if they do get it, I don't know. We'll get into that. I want to talk first. We have about a few minutes before our guest. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions about vaccines or anything like that, I'm going to open the phone lines. We have a guest coming on, Michael Daugherty. Is it? Do you use that G or not, Stacy?
It's Daugherty.
Daugherty. Okay, good. Thank you for that, because I'd have blown that. But if you have any guests or any questions for our guests, I would ask that if you want to do that, you call up, ask your question, and hang up and listen on the other end. All right. I don't want to tie up, a guest with a 10-minute call, and we only have them on for, 15, 20 minutes. So if you could please do that, I'd gladly take questions, but ask your question and say goodbye, and then you'll hear the question on the radio. I'd really appreciate that. We might be able to get a few calls in if people are interested. But right now, something that I'm sure you all have noticed, especially maybe you, Stacy, because you're in a slightly warmer climate than we are, it seems that the kids are not paying attention to this. It just really, listen to the president appealing to the youth of America to get their shit together.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus?
Nope. Okay, so I blew that one again. I do that all the time. Basically, the president is asking the youth, we know that you feel invincible. We know that you think that you're never going to get sick and all that mess. But guess what? You could be a carrier. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, is these kids are out there and there's no change in their behavior at all. And you know that I'm not a real big fan of this. I think it's a little bit of overreaction. But that being said, we have a national leadership structure who's asking us to do something, and most people are doing it. And maybe in the end, when this is over, it will prove to be so valuable that we don't even know. And what I mean when I say that is anybody who has been in the military, anybody who has been in ground operations military, that's Army and Marine Corps and any branch of the service, Navy, Air Force, and the rest that have served with their feet on the ground in a hostile area know about biological warfare and know that the coronavirus ain't shit. All right, we know that there are agents, pathogens, and other weapons out there that our enemies hold that are devastating, and coronavirus is not one of them. So it would behoove us to learn how to do this in the event that we were ever faced with that. And when we have jihadists and other ideologies out there that don't give a damn about civilization, it gets pretty dangerous that we know that these things are out there. It's why everyone went nuts with Iraq. But anyway, so these kids aren't really paying attention to what's going on. I'm gonna try to play a clip. That was supposed to be the president appealing to these kids to not go to bars and not go congregate in the hundreds and thousands at the beach, because you're going to become a carrier, and you're going to take it home to mama and daddy and grandpa and grandma and me. I still don't see why they haven't closed these bars down at these beaches. Hell, they closed mine down. I don't even go to them, but they closed mine down. Why can't they close them down? Let me attempt this other clip. This is starting to piss me off. But this is the kids that are interviewed that are down at the beach.
I get corona. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying. We've been waiting for Miami spring break for a while. About 2 months we've had this trip planned. 2-3 months. So we're just out here having a good time. Whatever happens, happens.
It's really messing up with my spring break. What is there to do here other than go to the bars or the beach, and they're closing all of it? It's really messing up. I think they're blowing it way out of proportion. I think it's doing way too much.
Doing us bad. We need a refund. This virus ain't that serious. It's serious. It's more serious things out there like hunger and poverty, and we need to address that.
Yeah, we planned this a long time ago, and it was kind of up in the air if we still go, but we're here. I just turned 21 this year, so I'm here to party, so it's kind of disappointing, but we're just making the most of it. We met these other people in our little Airbnb spot, so we're just hanging out with them and trying to get drunk before everything closes.
It sucks, but we're going to make the best of it. We're enjoying ourselves. It sucks, and I'm from New Orleans, so this really sucks. However, we're going to enjoy ourselves. We having day parties all day. It's my birthday, St. Patrick's Day. Turn up.
We're just trying to roll with we're just living for the moment. We're just going to do what happens when it happens. When stuff closes, we're going to do it when it closes. But besides that, we're just trying to have the best trip we can.
Wow, yeah, man, that's what we're trying to do. In a way, I look at myself when I was that age. I was never in that group. I didn't go to college. I went to the Army, but, a time at the beach, that's kind of a birthright of an American young person. But what do you think, Stacy? Is this a problem?
I ask me on a different day, and I would probably say no, but I do think it's a problem because of the spread and the fact that these kids are going to go back and be around people, their grandparents, other people in their families who may have a medical condition that they can get sick. And this virus is pretty devastating to those people. I get where they're coming from, because if you are young and healthy, it doesn't seem to be affecting you in the same way it does others. I just start thinking to myself, I probably would have done the same thing because I was an idiot at that age.
Me too.
I think sometimes too.
How am I still alive? I think sometimes.
Yeah. Well, but where are these kids' parents? Because I do think, if my son wanted to go and congregate around thousands of people during this time, even though he's in college, I think I would be like, no, you're not going. It's just not going to happen. So, it's amazing to me that there are so many down there. And I guess maybe some of them are independent and don't have to live by their parents' rules anymore. But, as long as I'm paying for college, I still think that I've got, a say in what's going on. So I guess I was a little surprised that there were so many down there partying on the beach.
Yeah, you got to wonder how many of them have a room at their parents' house. That's what I would do. If you like this room? If you like this room, you're going to do what I say. Or I'm going to make it into a studio. Sal?
On the fence about this a little bit. I realize those mass groups of people, yes, it's probably a petri dish. If one person has it, everyone else is going to get it. Gosh, the kids in the neighborhood, you're not going to tell them to play with each other since they've been isolated in a bubble here in the neighborhood. Yeah, kind of have some issues with that. Sorry, Stacy. Just
no, go, please.
I'll just wrap up real quick. Simple hand washing. Normal hygiene that you should be doing anyhow is over 50% of this game. So
hand wash. Go ahead.
That's what I keep thinking, Hutch. You've been to CPAC. You know that place is wall to wall people, especially when you're changing from room to room. And you have this guy who was there taking pictures side by side with several members of Congress, all of which tested negative. And Trump had dinner with someone and a meeting with someone who tested positive, and all of these people test negative. And my thought is, like Sal's saying, if you're practicing good hygiene, how contagious is this? And I just don't know that we know.
But let's compare CPAC, because I've been there, but I've also been to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, I know.
And there's a lot more fluids getting passed around in Myrtle Beach than there is at CPAC.
And that's where we need to be what we really need to be aware of is if this gets into the homeless population in big urban centers, boy, watch out.
Well, I'll tell you something even worse. 30 of the victims, how many victims do we have? Deaths? 100 maybe?
It's like 115.
30 of them are from a nursing home, from the same building.
Right.
In Washington. Right. I mean, what happens when it gets into the federal and state prison systems?
And someone I read right before I came online, and I don't remember what city or state it was in, but 2 prison officials tested positive for it recently. So, yeah, I mean, what are we going to do then? Do we then let people out of prison? You know what I mean?
No, you know what we do? Here's what we do. We realize that, this is a pathogen that's out there, and it is there is a very low fatality rate if you are not a very senior citizen or somebody with pulmonary problems. And we deal with it like all the rest of the things that are out there that we deal with all the time. I think that in the final analysis, in my opinion, we're going to look at this on the other side, and we're going to say, what in the hell did we just do?
I'm so glad you said that, because I feel like that 100%. And I feel like I'm alone on a mountain about this.
Don't feel that way.
Because while I want to be safe and I don't want to infect anyone, I look at this and I look at, like I said, people who've been around people who tested positive for it, who are not getting it, people who got it, who probably don't know that they even have it. I'm interested to see when we start mass testing, how many people actually have it and have no idea because their symptoms are so mild. And so then let's say that we do mass testing and we have 1 million people who are infected with it, and we have 125 deaths.
Boom.
And we shut down the global economy over this.
I saw a thing on Twitter, Sal, tonight that somebody said that was brilliant. I mean, it sucked, but it was brilliant. We're going to destroy the economy to fix this flu. Something along those lines. I mean, we're going to break the country to fix the country.
Just wash we need to wash our hands of those people, but also just regularly wash your hands. Normal hygiene.
Right. And I'm past the pathogen. I'm more into the reaction. The whole idea of how we're doing this, and I don't know. We'll get into it. I think we're going to probably get ready to start talking about the clinical things involved with this. Hopefully, this should be an interesting half hour as we go forward here, because Stacy and I know the guest that's coming on here. He's a brilliant guy, and I can't wait to talk to him because this is something that is right up his alley. It's right in his wheelhouse. There's no question about it. And the call is taking a little long, which is making me nervous. I never should start talking about. Okay, there we go. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, coronavirus analyst Michael J. Daugherty is the president of LabMD, an Atlanta-based clinical and anatomic medical laboratory, as well as CEO of Any Lab Test Now in Virginia. Welcome to the program, Michael, and how are you doing? Got a cell phone situation. It doesn't seem to be hitting a tower or something there.
Wow.
There you go.
I can hear you good. Sorry.
I can hear you now fine, too. Thanks for coming on Cold War Radio.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We also I have a couple co-hosts. Somebody that you might know from Atlanta, Georgia. Stacy Rush is on the line.
Hey, Mike.
Well, I stood her up for lunch. Was that a week ago yesterday?
It was, Mike, and I have to tell you, I came home and told Jason about it, and the waitress thought you stood me up on a date. And she was like, she kept coming to check on me every 5 minutes. Are you okay, honey? Honey, do you want me to go ahead and get you something to eat?
Oh, thanks for telling me. So next time we meet there, when I get the stink eye, I'll know.
Yeah, exactly. We're so glad to have you. I can't wait to pick your brain about coronavirus.
Oh, hello. Well, this is hilarious. This is good.
All right, Mike, we also have Sal. Sal is in Allegheny County, Pittsburgh area.
You're in Pittsburgh, in Allegheny County?
Yes, sir. I don't know how I don't know how I can follow up that lunch story, but
let me tell you how you can follow it up. We won't talk about that right now, but Allegheny County is where I'm in major legal battles because the company Tyversa is based there, and it's all I got to say for you, sir, is I'm sorry.
I hope you bankrupt them, Mike. I'm in Allegheny County too. I'm actually in Pittsburgh, but
we'll have to talk someday about the judges you people elect. It's terrifying.
You're preaching to the choir, brother. I'm behind enemy lines.
Keep your head down. Keep your head down. That place is something else.
You're absolutely right. There's no question. Let's get in to the story of the day. We'll get into your book in a second too, because that's relevant as well. But apparently this is our generation's greatest test, a lot of people think. This coronavirus will change how we shop, travel, and work for years. A lot of people we were talking before you came on, especially the young, just absolutely refuse to give up their routines. Your expertise is in the lab and vaccines and identifying things. Tell us what's going on. What is something that we should be as a layman out here that aren't as familiar with these kind of things as you are? What should we be looking at?
Well, there's two things. Okay, one is what's going on right now, and we have to be reactive. Okay, and when this is all over, then we get the rearview mirror out, and then we say, you think you could have fooled a Corleone, because this is a really bad situation built on our refusal to admit that evil and corruption exists in the world. And the younger you are, the more I will forgive your sort of naivete, because without a lot of life experience, but it really boils down to that this infrastructure isn't built for the worst case scenario. We don't know what the scenario could be. That's because we enable these tyrants and refuse to name them tyrants. Today in the White House, again, second day in a row, some press person wants to raise the topic that because we're calling it the China virus, that somehow we are being prejudiced to Chinese Americans. It's terrifying that if you're a White House person, you're going to sit here in the middle of this situation and still do a disservice to the country by making up stupid stuff like that. Because I hate to break it to you, it came from China. And it's not the Chinese, it's the dictators and dogmatic SOBs that run China that don't care about their own people, and let alone the rest of the world. So the horse got out of the barn because the Chinese, powerful, lied. And they lie because they steal. And when they steal technology and medical ideas and everything else, you can't manage what you don't know, and you can't manage what you steal. And so that's the first thing. Then once the horse is out of the barn, then you could go back when we have time, which we don't right now, right, and play back the tapes of them, of China trying to blame American soldiers, of people being upset with Trump for closing China air travel. And the fact of the matter is, we have separated any type of understanding of separation of powers, why this country was created, because it's been chipped away from us in an educational sense for the last century, not the last term, not the last decade. So you have almost everyone here that doesn't understand the concept of tyrannical government. They've not experienced tyrannical government. They haven't experienced tyrannical health. So, we don't have people that are alive that really remember iron lungs, tuberculosis hospitals, polio, no vaccine, family members with lifelong polio injuries. So we're sitting here, refusing to sort of cooperate. Now we've got people's attention now, but I think this is all going to happen later. And what makes me nervous is that they won't understand that. I hope this doesn't get the worst case scenario because I don't want people to get hurt. But if it does get the worst case scenario, which I actually don't think it will, but if it does, you're gonna see an infrastructure that's been made too weak to handle it, and you're gonna see rural hospitals going bankrupt. You're gonna see quickly, by the way, because we have created such a thin ice. We have got such a culture of people that, and this is the scary part, that refuses to admit they're wrong and adjust with new knowledge. So you have a left that I really learned when Obama won the second time, that refuses to live in reality, and nothing smacks in the face like disease eventually when you refuse to live in reality. And all their speech is we need more time and more money, more time, more money, more time, more money. And, to listen to pundits and politicians for our medical advice is dangerous.
So, Mike, with the virus and where we stand right now, what is your thought as far as we increase testing? Do you think we're going to find out that many, 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 many more people have it? And do you think that then will make people say, well, we have so few deaths, why are we so concerned about this? Or do you foresee this kind of walking that path of this really could be catastrophic and overwhelm our healthcare system?
No, it's going to be catastrophic and overwhelm healthcare. Well, it's a double-edged sword. One, we don't have enough data yet to know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and medicine is data, and nothing scares people more than the unknown, and that's why everyone's freaking out right now.
Okay.
And the more data we get, the less we should freak out because we'll handle it. But it depends on how bad it is. And that's why I talk about how, we need test kits. But and we're short on test kits, and it's going to go from famine to feast pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But it's right now we're running blind through this, not knowing how bad it's going to be.
Right.
And the first people we need to protect is our medical people, because the irony is we're putting our medical people at risk. We have limited facilities. We've got people that are being spooked because of the television, that want to test, and they have an entitlement mentality. And when there's a shortage of tests, you're not going to get the test because you're worried. You're not going to get the test unless you're symptomatic, period. The worry about the spread of the disease is, well, how many people aren't symptomatic but are spreading it around? And that's why they're shutting everything down, because it's the only way they can control the maybe. And we might never know.
And so do you agree then it is necessary to take these steps that we're going through right now with the
some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them. I think when you're in the unknown, everything turns into tail covering, and you've got politicians, insurance carriers, and lawyers ruling the day, because that's who are in the fear business. And all of them are make money off the fear business. And right now it's a heyday. The next thing that'll happen is the lawyers will make a ton of money off the fear business because insurance carriers won't pay, and they'll be suing them to 2035. They're all just teeing it up. There was an article on law.com today that's like, litigators just see litigation like crazy for the next decade over this. No kidding. Yippee-yay. So they're the parasites of society, because they're not changing anything. So we have that. And until we look and deconstruct what happened here and how it happened, and this is where it's a political thing, this really is about our global interrelationship and how these globalists have just turned into kumbaya maniacs. And the fact that they refuse to change their mind no matter what, because they truly are all about power and isolation. And it takes something like, this disease to smack them in the face. And it's going to take a populist crowd that's going to have to do it. In a perverse way, this is a massively lucky break for Trump. if you could ever say it. I mean, this is, because whatever could you think of other than this? It's going to get Schumer and Nancy Pelosi going along with Donald Trump. You want to tell me?
Yeah. And for more people in the United States to really want to look at, how we do business with China, how much we are dependent on China and our borders, and what we need to really be doing to address open borders in this country.
And so this is like this massive whammy. But it wouldn't put by these idiots on MSNBC to say, well, we planned all this so we could have a political win and prove us wrong.
Well,
that's something I could hear out of Joy Reid's mouth tomorrow.
well, Michael, along with those same thoughts that Stacy just said, do you think this is going to be the event that is going to, I don't know necessarily force, and that's a big word, force, even though it's not, not big in structure. Is this going to be the event that's going to make us realize that we have to do more here in the U.S.? And when I say more medical devices being built here, antibiotics being manufactured here. Is this the event that's going to make it happen?
Because really, we are the innovation capital of the world, and China and a few other countries, and you know who they are the thieves of the world. And when you steal something, you don't know how to work it. So there's two reasons why you should be concerned with China. Number one, they're thieves, and we let them get away with it because they're trying to manage and mitigate the bad guy. And the left always wants to mitigate the bad guys by refusing to accept their bad guys and look the other way and give them money. I mean, look what Obama did with Iran. Okay, so there's that part. The other part is looking at ourselves. For some bizarre reason, because I'm 59, right? So in the 60s, the liberals, the left, they hated the industrialists. They hated Henry Ford 30, 40 years before. They hated the auto companies. They hated anyone that was involved in factories. You can, take Paradise, put a parking lot. Very simple, very black and white, very easy to follow, right? Clean environment, be nice, help each other, pay a lot of money. Now, for some real reason, what they don't get is the industrialists of this century are Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Twitter. I mean, these are vicious industrialists. And they're got way more power than these automotive companies had and others 100 years ago. And they're way more dangerous because they move way faster, way deeper. Most of them have incomes and assets bigger than most countries in the world. And they turn us into sales territory. And to sell, they'll say anything. So over here, they'll say politically correct mantras, of, oh, yes, we have to have certain diversity quotas and Me Too and everything's perfect. And then at the same time, they're the ones over there making a fortune in China. And we let them get away with this stuff. And we let them get away with this stuff because it's a merry-go-round in Washington, D.C. of these bureaucratic, whores. Not the Republicans or the Democrats, it's the bureaucrats. And the bureaucrats outnumber the Republicans plus the Democrats by tenfold. And they run from, law school to agency to big law to big corporate job. And it's a big, and academia in there here and there. I mean, this whole, pod of people that came out of Harvard Law with Obama. These people are lifers, and they're a little tight club, and they never get out of their bubble, and they wield a lot of damage. And that's where our foot has to go down, because now the one of the positive things about this, I guess, is the American public experiences their pocketbook and their health. But Obamacare's negatives you don't see unless you really get in the medical system. Right now, everyone's feeling, pressure from this in some degree of threat. And that makes people personalize what's going on and maybe pay attention. So I'm hoping that we're going to get enough teachable moments. But I'm not stupid. We're still going to have a ton of, Californians moving to Arizona because they ruined California and then try to do the same thing to Arizona.
And Austin, Texas, too. I mean, it's not just they're not just keeping it close. But, I'd like to talk a little bit about a couple things. The first is the vaccine situation. What do you think? Talk us a little bit through what's going on now with the trials. I see a few people have actually been injected, and there's some sunlight at the end of that tunnel. Do we need to look for a vaccination? Is that going to be the end all. I don't think it is, but
it's way too late. I mean, it's good to get it going because you have to get it going, but it's too late. A vaccine, and this is where most people don't pay attention to this because they don't have to, and now everyone is a little threatened in their daily lives, so they have to. Vaccination is not a cure, not a treatment. It's not a pill that you pop. It's not an antibiotic. Vaccination is an immunosystem boost. It's a little slice, a little teeny sample, a little flavor of the disease. So your immune system goes, whoa, I better get ready for incoming. This could get worse.
And I guess most Americans don't even take the flu vaccine. And how many thousands does that take every year?
Oh, don't even start me on the don't vaccinate and the flu thing.
And I'm the most vaccinated guy on the planet too. I got to tell you.
I just because I don't go to the Google School of Medicine and I don't listen to former Playboy centerfolds about what to do in science. And you can have any opinion you want, but you can have whatever opinion you want, but your opinion's your opinion. Your opinion's not a fact because you're famous and you get platform, and that's a dangerous part. And that's the whole. This all ties in. We, as Americans, for some reason, the last 15 years, have made these celebrities because they're celebrities. And we listen to these idiots for edutainment and roadkill because they're just eyeballs to make money off of.
Well said.
I don't call my congressman when I'm sick, and evidently most people now are dumb enough to think, and I'm sorry, you're dumb enough to think that your congressman is going to help you in health care. That is, they don't even know how. I mean, why don't you just call and ask your guy that pumps gas? It doesn't make any sense. And same thing with pundits on television, because look at their hypocrisy and the silencing. It's kind of terrifying. I would say this my whole life. It's like, if you don't pay attention, God will slap you in the face, and the God's going to slap you in the face as hard as he has to get your attention. And evidently, we need a big wallop because, Mother Nature's not sweet, and these people. I mean,
never has been.
If you're so unethical that you're going to pontificate about healthcare and technology when you know nothing about it, then you have no boundaries. And these people that go on that are addicted to, television time, that's really scary stuff. I mean, and we've got these big, as we know, big six, corporations of media that are theater, that sell eyeballs and ratings, and made this thing worse because they had photos like crazy of corpses in hallways of hospitals. And now, and will they see the irony of their, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, New York Times writers getting kicked out of China? And why did they get kicked out of China? Because they exposed what was really going on.
Indeed, no question. And I just wonder. Some people, look at the worst case scenario as hospital beds. I don't. This is Cold War radio. I look at the worst case scenario as a shooting war with China. To me, it's becoming abundantly clear that this is not just a pathogen gone wild. This is some type of and I'm not going to go all Alex Jones, but let's admit it. President Trump knocked the shit out of China's economy. I mean, turned them upside down within a year. And I've been sitting here for a year telling the audience, geez, when is China going to do something? Because they're going to. I've served in Korea. I understand they're not going to take this and just leave it on the table, And so that being said, when you look at the reaction of the Chinese-influenced media and other businesses, I mean, hell, it looks like the Chinese own the NBA at this point. It gets pretty multifaceted. So I want to ask you about The Devil Inside the Beltway, Michael. You wrote this book.
Well, hold on. You can't say all that. Now let me chime in on stupid
I
money.
will let you say whatever you want to say. Go ahead. But then I want to bring it back. I want to bring it back to the deep state. I really do.
Well, it's all interconnected. I mean,
it's exactly.
Sorry, I just shoved a piece of chocolate in my mouth. How rude. The people that go and pander to the Chinese, and the most glorified one of that would be Dennis Rodman pandering to North Korea. I mean, these are the idiots we raise. These are the spoiled little rich children of America. These are the people that don't really get their hands in the dirt and build something from the ground up. These are the people that slip out of academia, go work in major corporations. And if you work in major corporations, a lot of you have a lot of skills. But if you're not an innovator at the top, if you're the middle guy surviving, what skills do you have to develop? Go along to get along, survival, keeping your head down, whistling past graveyards. These are the best skills of survivalists long-term in corporations. If you're a top executive, you're like a leader that bops around and don't care yet if it's another industry. That's not what I'm talking about. Those people, the majority of them are the go along to get along, is who can come out here and then not know a thing about China. And then you have a jock career, and then suddenly a microphone's in your face because your team has won a lot, and you are talking about political events. This is terrifying.
You want to get really scared. You want to get really scared. Think about Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, because he's the guy you're illustrating.
Well, I was going to say
they're in the military too.
I'm not so scared of the idiot up there. I'm scared of the masses that don't get that he's an idiot.
Right.
That's what I'm scared about. Okay, because what I'm scared about is all the people that go, Amazon, Washington Post, Microsoft. You know, the commissioner that came after me in the FTC, who then had recused herself, is a senior executive VP at Microsoft. Now, why is that? Because no one reports anything. So, and ironically, all they want is everyone to shut up when they screw up. And you get people in their survival. These people get built, just like government bureaucrats, or just like bureaucrats. You know, that's all they know. Half their lives over. They're easy to manipulate. They're terrified. What are they going to do if they don't have the membership to suck off of?
No.
The same thing with these corporate people.
I agree.
Well, Mike, one thing before we get back to Devil Inside the Beltway, given, bureaucracy and government and how inefficient they are at everything, if not corrupt at everything, how would you rate Trump and how he's handling this outbreak so far?
Well, no one's going to believe me. I think he's awesome. But I was like, look, he's completely blunt. He doesn't care. So, he just rips the ABC reporters head off with it yesterday and today. There was two different, Jonathan Karl and then this woman today.
I have to say that what genius was it that he got that one reporter to say Kung Flu 3 times in her question?
I know, because I'm just waiting for Weird Al at Frankovich to come out with Kung Fu fighting.
Everybody was
Kung Fu
fighting.
Right. I mean, come on. And the other thing would be, my Corona. I mean, I'm like waiting for that. So...
we are the same age.
Yeah. Well, I used to blast that down the road.
Me too.
I got pulled over one time. I got so hats off to the knack.
Chevy Malibu. Oh yeah.
But anyway, so I think Trump's doing it perfect for this because it is. These people have built the infrastructure to make this possible. Completely dismissing accountability from the world's powers is what makes this possible. And Trump is like the honey badger. He don't give a shit, right? And awesome. So he's up there, like, just calling him out on. And no one that has any intellectual honesty whatsoever would say, oh, yes, he can control a disease. His hands are completely clean. And I love when they try to get him. Do you feel responsibility for this? Not at all. How would you rate yourself? I'd give myself a 10. I mean, he knows how to make them so nuts. And also just hold up the hypocrisy. It's almost getting, like, sad. I mean, because
wait for Biden.
We're sitting here in a world epidemic, that pandemic that comes out of China, that China hid, that their brethren in the press, that their team reported and get punished for, and she's still stupid enough to try to hit that narrative of, yeah, okay, are you kidding me? I hate to break it to these people. Like, I've been hiring people here in Virginia in my new business and been interviewing mostly people that are minorities. And I got to say, the people over, I have interviewed Arabs, Hispanics, Bulgarians. Everyone's like, are you nuts? What is wrong with you people here? I mean, it's like this is the best place to be. With this one woman, this Arab woman, was going off during an interview last week about how she cannot stand American women not disciplining their children. And her teenage son will tell his friends, "My mother knows how to throw a shoe and not miss."
But hey, Mike, one quick question. I'm going to ask a couple fold question.
Yeah.
One, what do you think the timeline on a vaccine, a viable, useful, effective vaccine is going to be? You have any insight on that?
Yeah, it's December to February.
Okay, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, because you don't understand. It's just it's statistical guessing. It's medically educated statistical guessing, and then you don't. I mean, we've just leapfrogged a lot of it because we pay people to be guinea pigs. Because the reality is, if they're healthy, the odds of them getting severely ill are very slim, right? And so they're going to be greater good. And but that lops it forward. But there are things that can happen. A lot of times we use lab animals. We go, oh, we might have cured this, and then you put it in the human test population and falls flat on its face. So, the world just wants a guarantee. We just can't. I mean, we just think we're entitled to drive-through service on life, and I'm sorry, it just doesn't happen. We can only say what we know from what we know now, and out of this carnage will come something good. Like out of the AIDS crisis came tons of great research that helped a lot of other disease treatments. That'll happen here. Maybe our technology for vaccines will go better, but it's always going to be a crapshoot because we are the guinea pigs.
Right, and along those same lines, I know we're talking about one particular strain of this. Is there a chance of this mutating and us getting a vaccine developed and then it being another strain and that vaccine?
There's no chance it won't. That's what they do. That's why it's so hard. It's all constant mutation. We just got a nasty one. And by the way, again, we're in reaction mode. Our first priority right now is to keep this from spreading and to temper this down. And it's like a hurricane's coming at us. We've got the entire coast scared to death. It's probably going to hit just a little bit, but we all have to get ready. And then when it's all over, most of us aren't going to be hurt, and then we're going to go, okay, what the hell? And and that's what's going to go on with this, because this didn't need to happen.
And I've said that to our listeners too. While you're watching this go on, look at these tyrants in these different states and start writing their names down on a list. And let's remember what everybody did during this time. So when it's over, when we're on the other side, we can do an analysis. Would you mind taking, I know we're almost out of time, Mike, but would you mind taking a call?
Oh, no problem. Take it home, no problem.
Ken from King George, your call for Michael Daugherty.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So I just heard, I don't know, I haven't done a whole lot of research into it yet, but they said that, some of these younger individuals that contract this flu, they, that aren't exhibiting symptoms of it, they wind up with permanent lung damage. Is that? I mean,
I haven't heard that connected. I've heard that you look at people now. You see, and here's what to be careful, right? Folks, Italy is not the United States. So we look at Italy, we look at China. China, I mean, China is, look, culturally they're dirtier than we are. They spit, they slurp. Have you ever been like in a Chinese in China when everyone's having soup? It's appalling because they're aggressive. Because it's competition. It's not a China. It's a human condition. What happens when you put a big crowd together and stir things up, right? And so they don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the cleanliness. They don't have the innovation in their heads. So on that hand, you've got a petri dish of things going wrong. And then we look at those, and we have to understand there's so many variables that are different. Now, in Italy, we're seeing this severe story. Italy has a different government every 3 weeks. Italy does not have a healthcare system that's not dependent on a government that flips like crazy. It's a small wonder Italy's having a big problem. Because Italy is all about Italy. It's like, they go to Italy, it's a really great place to visit because, hey, no problem, let's all relax and let's just close down the afternoon and life is beautiful and love is all important. And then, oops, here comes a not so loving. Well, So I've heard that the people that have it severely but don't die have lung issues that are severe, and the damage is scary.
Yeah, and that region of Italy, northern Italy, centered on Milan. That's the region that was big into leather manufacturing, and they sold almost all of it to China. And then they allowed all the Chinese leather people to come in to Milan because Italy has a many hundred years history of emigrating. I mean, most of them came here. You know what I mean? And so there's a large population of Chinese and if you remember, the initial hotspot was the northern regions of Italy, the Alps and that area. And that's dominated by Chinese immigrants. It's just a fact.
Well, I don't, but the key is going to be not as how long they've been there, where it came from. Right. Because this is a virus, okay? This is not a tumor.
Right.
So this is quick life, and it must have condensed population that accelerates hand-to-hand movement. People close together can accelerate things, touching things, and sneezing's not the big deal. That's why the masks don't work. And then they have to travel in a short amount of time. I mean, this is why they want us apart for 2 weeks. And really, almost everyone needs to only be apart for a week. But again, we've been thrown in the middle of this, and we don't have time to wait for the answer. But again, the second half of the caller was, I hear the young people inexplicably have a much stronger immune tolerance to this so far, and these are generalizations, and everything's fluid, and with every day that goes by, we'll learn more, and that's why our solutions to this are so early basic, which is we don't know what the hell's going on. Clamp it down. Buy time. If you're weighing triple in tennis, you throw up a lob, and all this to buy time, and all we're doing is doing everything we can to slow down the transmission process, because we haven't been given enough time or information from those SOBs in China to let us know what the hell's going on. And believe me, they're never really going to fess up.
No, of course not. And
we're going to have to put it together like you put together a bad plane crash.
Right.
I mean, it's going to take tons of
after
research.
It's over. Right. After it's over. Michael Daugherty, I thank you for coming on the show. I'm way late. I apologize for that, but just interesting content. We'd love to have you back as this develops.
Good. And Stace, I owe you lunch.
You do. Better come back to Atlanta soon.
I can't stand this. The only way we get to talk.
I know. No, we'll have to have you on here more often, and then we could catch up here in front of everyone.
But you guys know, Stacy works like 2 miles from where I live. It's ridiculous. All right, talk to you guys later.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much for coming on, Michael Daugherty.
Looking for an alternative place to find news and opinion? How about conversing with fellow patriots? Join us Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for Cold War Radio. You will find it at www.spreaker.com or in the Spreaker app. Search for Cold War Radio and you will find it. Since I've been listening, I have met some terrific patriots and learned quite a lot about current events that the mainstream media will never tell you. Please come and join us. Be inspired. You will feel right at home in our Spreaker chat room.
All right, our Spreaker chat room is kicking ass. I want to thank Ken. That was the perfect call. That's the way we're going to do it with guests from now on. It works fine, and I could have kept him on for another half hour, Stacy. But I want to go first to Sal with some breaking news.
Okay, you guys both ready, and everyone is ready. ICE to stop most immigration enforcement inside the U.S. will focus on criminals during the China virus outbreak. U.S. immigration authorities will temporarily halt enforcement across the United States, except for its efforts to deport foreign nationals who have committed crimes or who pose a threat to public safety. The change of enforcement status comes amid the China virus outbreak and aims to limit the spread of the virus and to encourage those who need treatment to seek help. Immigration and Customs Enforcement said late Wednesday that its Enforcement and Removal Operations Division will delay enforcement actions and use alternatives to detention amid the outbreak, according to a notification the agency sent to Congress. What do you guys say about this?
Well, I think I'm not sure, and I would refer. I was turning some dials and moving some faders, but
I was too.
I heard today that the immigration situation at the border is nobody's allowed in. Isn't that what I heard the president proclaim today, or did I misinterpret that or anything? Sal?
Not sure. I am not totally. I'm not totally up to speed on that particular issue.
It sounds like from your report that they're moving out of the interior toward the border. In other words,
so instead of like a catch and release type of thing, they're let me
just go a little bit further. The agency, which is part of the Homeland Security, did not immediately respond to questions about how many of the approximately 37,000 detainees it has in custody will remain here. Nearly 20,000 in ICE custody have some sort of criminal history, but it remained unclear how many of those people have serious criminal violations in their past.
So are you saying that they're letting them out in the U.S.? Is that what you're saying?
Well, what the heck does alternatives to detention mean? What does that mean?
Hopefully it means they get on a bus and dump their asses out
I'm
in
saying,
Mexico.
Can we nationalize Greyhound? Can we get 5 or 6 buses?
We're facing a pandemic, and you're going to have a bunch of third world country people that we're just going to let out into America because God knows we don't want them to get sick in a facility. No, drive their ass back to Mexico.
Yeah, so I find this to be a little curious.
Oh, these times we're living in. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, or not ladies and gentlemen, but you know what, Stacy and Sal, we're going to look back. Who knows how long we're going to last, but however many years from now, we're going to look back and go, man, we lived history. Mm-hmm. We lived through history, because that's what we're doing. I mean, have you ever been quarantined before, Stacy? I haven't.
No, never in my life. And I'm telling you,
this is some new shit.
It's driving me crazy, too, because I feel like, again, I'm not an alarmist about this. I don't want to get people sick, but I also feel like, God, how ill prepared are we for something like this when you find out you have to stay indoors for 2 weeks and everybody and their mothers empties out every freaking store within a 10-mile radius.
First? They go for toilet paper, my God. They don't go for vitamins.
No. Oh, but listen.
I did.
The last time I was at Kroger, I was just walking around, just trying to see if they had any kind of alternative to like antibacterial soap, because there obviously was none. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the medicine aisle, and this lady comes back. I see her dumping all this Tylenol in her basket, and she left the area, and then she came back and she's like, "Don't buy Advil. Advil is supposed to be really bad for coronavirus. Get your Tylenol now." She must have had 50 bottles of Tylenol. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? Leave some for the rest of the people,
I saw a cartoon, man, and it was a whole line of morons. I mean, the line went to the sunset, right? And they all had shopping carts full of toilet paper, and the caption was, "Yeah, rent day came." They're all in the return line. Walmart,
Well, you're right, Hutch and Stacy. All this bulk buying, a lot of people just can't sustain it. That's why I see things coming back to normal here fairly shortly, because most people cannot afford to do that,
No.
every other day or even every week.
That's true. That's so true. Let's go to California and get Sean's perspective. What's going on, Sean?
Hey, Hutch and everybody, how you doing?
All right. What's up?
Well, I'm a little confused here on this question that I had. I'm not sure how the government's going to pay $1,000. That's what I've been hearing.
Yeah, this is that other
every
thing. It's
individual-
2,000 now. It's 2,000 now, by the way.
Well, I'm a little confused on that. How are they going to pay people?
Why did our party, Stacy, I got to get you on this one. Why in the hell did we go there? I mean, it started, unbelievably, it started with Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Who said
No,
everybody-
let's go back. It actually started with Andrew Yang.
With Yang, yeah, but I mean, on the Republican side, Romney came out first, and Tom Cotton's next, and I'm thinking,
I tell you what, though, Hutch. I mean, I think what Donald Trump is trying to do is get money to the people, whereas in past situations we've bailed out business after business after business,
after bank, after hospital, after insurance company, after oil company, after Boeing. Yeah, you're right.
And he's saying, I'm bypassing all that crap. I'm going right to the people. The problem is it's not going to be enough.
And it's not going to work.
Right. And so that, it is going to be a problem. And I'm not discounting it. Don't misunderstand. I think a lot of people, if it is $2,000, it would help a lot of people, right? For a very short period. So you're going to give one payment of $2,000. In my opinion, what they should do is we should not have to pay federal tax for the rest of the year. That would make an impact because it would be month after month after month of additional salary in your paycheck. And then that would actually make a difference for people.
I don't know if that would make a difference because then you're taking away from Social Security and you're sort of, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
We don't have money right now as it is. You think we're paying for the $2,000?
I know. I know that. Hey, I'm looking at that as takeout food money. Mm-hmm. Would you agree, Hutch?
I already sent a tweet out. Don't send me shit.
Yeah.
I don't want anything. I don't. I really don't. It's something that it creates a parasite nation, man. We don't need that.
Well, I think the other thing that we all have to consider is this is a consumer-driven economy, and if people are inside their houses and not spending money,
to an extent, it is, but
that
but
is
really,
going to have an impact.
We've added an additional.
If I may interject.
You could interject in a second. It's a consumer-driven economy. That's true, to the extent of once Trump came on the scene, now we have a real, tangible economy that is. You can look at the metrics and track it because we're extracting natural resources from our land.
We did. That's coming to it. Hutch, that's coming to
It's not coming to an end. It's not going to come to an end.
We just shut down the cracker
The price is down right now because Iranian and Russian oil companies they have commenced an oil price war. And once we navigate that, there's no denying that we have the goods here under our feet. Now, the circumstances behind whether or not we can profit from that are up in the air right now. But in the end, it's we're gonna benefit.
Yeah, the other problem here with natural gas is demand is way down, and we have a ton of supply.
That's because it's summer coming up.
Well, I mean that was going on last year this whole year as well. But just back to my point, I think we need the money to stimulate the economy.
The tax money.
It will help. I don't think it's secure. It will help.
All right, Sean.
Well, my biggest concern with this whole thing about us being paid government money and all of that was it was going to go through Social Security to all the illegals in my state and other blue states to where they would use that and funnel it into their little agenda. That was my biggest fear if they were going to do that. I'm not sure because this is where I asked you guys a question and you guys pretty much answered it. So.
Well, to be fair, the people that are being hurt by the government reaction to this are very low wage earning people. I mean, small businesses, pizza shops, restaurants, things of that nature, the people that work there. And really now, out your way, Sean, Las Vegas shut down the casinos for 30 days. That is tragic for Las Vegas. I mean, I don't know how you fix that. I mean, are we going to turn the lights back on, at the end of this and expect everything to work?
I think this is going to be the interesting thing about the entire thing. I heard some people talking about 2008 when we had, the crash in the economy, and how companies then started realizing how they could do things differently. And so, for instance, I can only talk about my company experience, and I can do my job from home. And where my office is and where our offices are, so we have one in Atlanta, one in New Jersey, right outside Manhattan. We have one in Boston. We have one in Los Angeles, one in DC. And that's some expensive rent that you're paying year after year after year. So you have something like this happen, and our company isn't skipping a beat as far as being able to do work from home, then I start rethinking as an organization, do I really need that much real estate?
Right.
Or can Stacy and Jessica share an office? And so Stacy comes in on Monday and Tuesday, Jessica comes in on Thursday and Friday, or Wednesday and Thursday, and then they both work at home from Friday or whatever, so that you're sharing it. So then all of a sudden your office space needs, it really shrinks. Well, then what happens to all those buildings? So that's just one small piece of it.
It's the same thing that happened to the malls.
Mm-hmm.
The malls, once Amazon and everything really came online strong, and it started with eBay, really. You've seen the drought, the blight, the urban blight. Anywhere, it's suburban blight too. Sean, any other thoughts?
No, I just, those were my two biggest questions and concerns was that going to go to the illegals, and how was that going to all get paid out and all that? I'm glad it's not going to the illegals. If it was, I would have been pissed.
Mm-hmm.
How would they get it to them? I'm not happy with the whole thing. I'm just, I'm still a little old school when it comes to that.
I would just appreciate it. Our company sent around today for our tax division that you don't have to pay your taxes until July and you won't get penalized. I'm like, how about we just push back filing them? I don't even want to do it, So
what I understand, you still have to file them.
Yeah, you do on April 15th. Yeah. I don't even want to do that. I can't do them on my own. I have to go to an accountant. But do I get to go to the accountant now? Because he's compromised health. He had a heart attack not too long ago. I'm sure he's not going to see me.
In Pittsburgh, they're still there because after the show, I got to go see how much it cost my wife. She went and did that tonight. All right. Thank you for calling, Sean. I got some other callers on the line. Keep your head down, brother.
All right. Peace out.